and they have a photo of 9 of them. And this is why the collective punishment in the whole city became actually very terrible for the resident of the city, and because the regime, they need to say that if they start actually to protest, will actually punish the whole city. But at the same time, actually, this one doesn't affect. Of course, will affect of the number of the people who are protesting, because they have a huge number of injured people in critical situation. People number who've been killed is exceed 2,000. But at the same time, does not affect actually the will of the Syrian to protest. Even that in Ramadan, every night in every city. And we have been seeing that and commented that by YouTube's videos every day in the north, in the south, and in all over the country. Even that now what's important actually, they're more actually leading voices from the Alawite community start talking about why the regime is taking the Alawite community as a hostage. It's the Alawite, it's in Syria is 10% to 12%. But many, or let's say the overwhelming of the security officers and the armed officers belong to the Alawite community. And all the stories about torture and about the killings, unfortunately, being actually blamed that the Alawite officers is doing that. Even that there is Sunni officers or others doing that, not only the Alawite. Because the regime also is investing on the sectarian language, this is why it became the tense between all other communities and the Alawite community. But what's good in the last 3 weeks, that there is a lot of leading voices from the Alawite community asking why the regime is taking us as a hostage. We lived with other communities for a while, and we have no such kind of struggle or fight with others. And this is why we can see that the voice of the well-known novelist Samari Ezbek and others with yesterday, like the initiative of Mohammed Salman, the former Minister of Information, when he announced along with 47 Ba'ath Party members what's called the National Democratic Initiative. Of course, the ceiling of this initiative is not acceptable by the Syrian people, because he's calling for Bashar al-Assad to lead transition and call for national conference. But it's good since Mohammed Salman, actually the son of Mohammed Salman, he's engaged with the daughter of Ali Duba, one of the icons of the military service during the late President Hafez al-Assad. And this is, we do believe, such kind of initiative gives a sense that there is more frustration among the Alawite community why actually the Assad family is leading the country. What's good that in this time that this is quite different than the 80s, and this is the message we're trying to send to the Alawite community and over the world. This is not, it's not like the 80s. There is no role of the Muslim brothers in organizing the protest. If this is the case, should we start actually the protest in Hama? It's not in Dar'a or in other cities or in Deir ez-Zor, where actually the tribes, they have much more leading role. Mostly actually who is behind the uprising, young generation, the Syrian society is very young. 63% of the Syrians are under 30 years old. And this is why the high number of the people who have been killed, among the 2,000 have been killed, we documented 1,152 under 35 years. And this is why actually the young is leading the protest, and mainly by indigenous idea about the local coordination committees and the committees unions and other type of organization. Then, of course, the initiative of Mohammed Salman also reflect with the same day with the replacement of the Minister of Defense Ali Habib. Minister of Defense of Ali Habib, he's Alawite also, and he's no connection to the security. And we know from the beginning that he's not satisfied by involvement of the army in putting the siege and in attacking the civilians by himself, that he's not satisfied by the military operation in Hama. With all the history of Hama, he said that this will create more tensions among the army and among the people. The Syrian army actually is a professional one, but is not like Egypt and is not like Libya, something between. And from the day when the Syrian regime trying to involve the army, there is a lot of let's say stories about even that the security in Syria, they have civilian clothes, but actually they change and they give them military clothes to confuse the Syrian people, to confuse the protesters, that there is no institution can rely on, even that they've been attacked by the security, attacked by the Shabiha or death squads or the thugs, or attacked by the army. This is the people, they feel that they are fighting alone, which with no actually international support rather than condemnation. Even on this week, we start hear more voices from the Arab League, especially from the Gulf countries, from the United States, and from the Security Council. With this is start maybe get more which help actually the protesters on the ground to get more momentum, to see that the international community start hearing their cries and voices. Then the replacement of Ali Habib, actually this is give you an indication that the army is not really on the same page with the Syrian regime in attacking the civilians. But there is no an indication that there is more frustration among the high senior generals in the army. What we have a lot of defection among the low-ranking levels in the army, especially the soldiers, and the middle-ranking levels. They have two groups right now in Turkey, where the officers actually they defect and flew to Turkey, and they start operating from there, using their contacts to encourage more army generals to defect. But there is no significant number from the senior army generals to defect or break away with the regime. But how we'll see that will affect at the end. At the end, actually, what's more important is it's the army. Having the Saudi and the Gulf countries condemn the violence, and having the King Abdullah himself have addressed the Syrian people and talk to them directly, this has great impact on the people on the ground. Because we feel that with all the important role of Saudi in the region, Saudi was actually been leading the efforts of the international community in Libya from behind, but right now it was quiet and silent on Syria. This is why this speech maybe will get more Arab countries to do some actions toward to stop the violence in Syria. Basically, with along with the international community, especially with some steps by the Security Council, because the Security Council issued statements, as Kate mentioned, and this is non-binding and has no influence actually. We're still pushing for have resolution by the Security Council, which not only condemning the violence against the protesters, but also put sanctions on Bashar al-Assad and other security officers, and third, get the refer to the International Criminal Court. Lastly, that's all actually this international joint effort should be coordinated by the Turkish. The Turkish being seen by the Syrians much more acceptable by other regional powers or other international efforts. And Turkey, after the visit yesterday, actually they start to put some actions. They said clearly that this is the time of actions and finish the time of wars, because they get promises. Dawood Oghlo, the Turkish Minister of Foreign Affairs, he visited Damascus 60 times in his term, and this is why he always keep hearing the same promises, but nothing on the ground. Yesterday he tried actually to reach Bashar Assad in this 3 hours meeting, then along with the group with 3 other meetings, and to send them a clear message that this is the time of actions and we will not wait and today the Turkish Prime Minister give him more 2 weeks. We think this is too long.